A legend walks in mourning. Nicholas Grayson stood on the balcony of Grayson Towers, 25 floors above Victoria Island. The November sun polished the lagoon to silver, but Nicholas felt no warmth. 6 months had passed since his wife Adora died, and the ache still sat on his chest like wet cement. Inside the penthouse, his 17-year-old daughter Maria finished setting a breakfast tray. Plantain pancakes, pineapple slices, black coffee, just as her mother used to serve. Maria, softly, Dad, you need to eat before the board meeting. Nicholas, forcing a smile, you cook like your mother. She'd be proud. Maria, then sit. You can't lead an empire on an empty stomach. Nicholas obeyed. Maria watched him swallow the first bite, relieved. She had become his quiet guardian, reminding him to rest, screening unwanted calls, pressing his tailored suits. He, in turn, played music she liked during the drive to her school and asked about her drawings. Their bond had never been stronger, yet both knew grief was stretching it taut. The woman in the midnight gown. 3 nights later, Nicholas attended the annual Hearts for Hope Gala, a glossy charity he bankrolled. Reporters thronged the red carpet, shouting questions about his next real estate project. Nicholas kept his answers brief. His energy drained fast these days. Inside the hall, chandeliers glittered over evening gowns. The scent of hibiscus perfume drifted close, and Nicholas turned. Palmer Reed stood there, wearing a midnight blue gown that framed graceful shoulders. Her eyes, a calm hazel, held no pity, only understanding. Palmer, extending a hand, Mr. Grayson, I'm Palmer Reed, new director at Hearts for Hope. I wanted to thank you for your generosity. Nicholas, shaking her hand, please, call me Nicholas. The foundation was Adora's vision. I'm only keeping the lights on. Palmer, you're doing more than that. You're lighting torches for many families. For the first time in months, Nicholas felt a conversation lift the fog in his mind. Palmer listened, not as a journalist hungry for quotes, but as someone who knew the language of loss. They spoke about orphan scholarships, street kid clinics, and, briefly, about how it felt to wake at 3 a.m. to an empty pillow. That night, Nicholas returned home lighter. Maria noticed. Maria, long gala. Nicholas, smiling faintly long but different. I met someone interesting. Maria nodded, but a small knot formed in her stomach. 8 months of sunshine and long shadows. Palmer's friendship with Nicholas blossomed quickly. She texted gentle reminders to drink water, sent vintage jazz playlists, and invited Maria to art shows. Maria attended twice, always polite, but never dropped her guard. One Saturday, Palmer organized a picnic in Freedom Park. A band played High Life under palm trees. Nicholas laughed, an unrestrained laugh Maria had not heard since her mother's funeral. Palmer, handing Maria a sketchbook, I saw your charcoal work online. Try capturing the trumpeter. Maria, neutral thanks. Maria drew, but her eyes kept flicking to Palmer's hand resting on Nicholas's arm. Everything seemed perfect, too perfect. After 8 months, Nicholas proposed on the roof garden of Grayson Towers. The city lights looked like scattered diamonds. Nicholas, I thought joy had ended for me. You showed me it can begin again. Will you marry me? Palmer, tearful, whispering, yes, Nicholas. 1,000 times yes. Media outlets swooned. Business icon finds love after tragedy. Lagos high society cheered. Meanwhile, Maria sat beside an untouched slice of cake and listened to her school friends congratulate her on the sweetest stepmom ever. A house repainted. The wedding was small, only 50 guests in a seaside chapel at Lekki. Palmer wore ivory lace. Nicholas looked 10 years younger. Maria, maid of honor in emerald silk, recited a reading but felt each word like a stone in her throat. Within weeks, Palmer reshaped the mansion. White orchids in every vase, new staff uniforms, a nutritionist planning Nicholas's meals. She spoke to the press about healing the family and started a social media series called Widow's Whisper, Tips on Coping with Grief. Followers adored her. Nicholas's energy soared. He jogged again, spoke at conferences, and promised Maria a summer internship in his design studio. But Maria noticed subtler changes. Asterisk her father's personal assistant, Chica, dismissed for administrative errors. A surveillance camera installed facing Maria's bedroom hallway for safety. Palmer's private calls late at night. One evening, Maria entered the kitchen for water and heard Palmer murmuring into her phone. Palmer, low voice patience. It's almost time. Trust me. The call ended when Palmer sensed Maria's presence. Palmer, turning, warm smile, couldn't sleep either. Let's have tea. Maria accepted the mug, but her doubts hardened. Pieces on the board. Behind the facade, for people moved like chess masters in dimly lit rooms. Jude Collins, Nicholas's longest business partner, met Palmer at a rooftop bar overlooking the third mainland bridge. He spat olive pits into a napkin. Jude, Grayson's insurance alone is worth billions, and he's insured Maria doubly since Adora passed. The girl is the key. Palmer, I already told you. Nicholas trusts me. Maria is cautious, but a teenager's voice versus Lego society? She'll be ignored. Alan Rivers, best friend since university, joined via encrypted video from London. Alan, the board accepts every suggestion I make. When Nicholas falls ill, power shifts quickly. The will leaves control to me until Maria is 30, but if she's gone, ownership slides elsewhere. Palmer's eyes gleamed with calculation. Finally, in a private Okoye apartment, Palmer met Felix Grant, her secret lover, a man with a smile like a sharpened knife. He traced her jaw with a thumb. Felix, play the grieving angel at dawn, the Black Widow at midnight. Palmer, breathless, I already do. They reviewed a plan, dates, dosages, the boat accident story for Maria, the heart attack narrative for Nicholas. Felix's signature was on a forged medical report. Palmer pressed a kiss on the ink to seal it. Cracks in the marble. Maria's suspicion turned to action. She copied the house Wi-Fi logs onto a flash drive and asked her school's IT tutor for help. Tutor, anonymous overseas calls routed through VPNs? Someone's hiding a lot. Maria's heart pounded. Can you trace one number? The tutor traced one call to a disposable line registered to Felice Utilities, a non-existent firm. That night, Maria confronted her father in his study. Rain lashed the glass. Maria, voice trembling, Dad, did you know Palmer's been making secret calls? Something's wrong. Nicholas, gentle, weary sweetheart, you miss your mother. Palmer isn't her. She never will be. But she loves us. Maria, you barely know her. Nicholas, Kurt, 8 months of shared days and nights is knowing. Don't let grief turn to paranoia. Maria left in tears. Palmer, waiting outside the door, wrapped an arm around Nicholas. Palmer, soft, syrupy, give her time. She'll come around. Inside, Palmer's eyes reflected the thunder flash, cold, victorious. The toast. Weeks later, the conspirators gathered in Jude's upscale wine cellar. Shelves of rare bottles gleamed under golden lamps. Palmer wore a black cocktail dress. Felix leaned against a barrel. Jude flicked dust from his cuff. Alan appeared on a wall screen. Jude uncorked a 1982 Chateau Lafite. Jude, raising his glass to fortune and the blood it sometimes costs. Palmer, Felix, and Alan lifted their glasses. Crystal clinked, a bright sound in a dark plot. Palmer tasted the wine and closed her eyes. Palmer, whisper soon, Grayson wealth will pour into our hands like this vintage. Felix wiped lipstick from her glass and smiled thinly. Nightfall at Grayson Mansion. Back home, Nicholas lay asleep, unaware of the storm gathering within his own walls. Palmer stepped onto the balcony outside their bedroom. From there she could see the city glitter, every light a promise of riches. Inside her silk robe pocket, a small vial of clear liquid rested against her palm. She breathed in the humid Lagos night, steadying her heartbeat. The time was close. Behind her, a corridor lamp flicked on. Maria stood at the end, half hidden in shadow. She saw the vial glint. Their eyes met, stepmother and stepdaughter frozen in a silent duel under the African moon. The story of how a legend might fall had begun. A perfect family trip. The July sun rose blood red over Lagos Lagoon as Palmer Reed glided down the marble staircase. Nicholas and Maria were already in the foyer, bags packed. Two armed drivers waited outside by the charcoal-black SUV. Palmer, cheerful road trip time. A whole weekend away from meetings and headlines. Nicholas, relieved sigh, exactly what I need. Maria, tight smile, where we going again? Palmer, a resort near Ape. Coconut groves, private beach, no distractions. We'll be back before Monday's board session. Maria's eyes lingered on the new drivers. They wore plain black caps, no Grayson security emblem. She leaned toward her father. Maria, whisper, did Chica hire different guards? Nicholas, Palmer arranged everything. Trust her, my dear. Maria hid her frown. Since Chica's dismissal, every small change came from Palmer. They set off just after 8. Lagos traffic hummed. Roadside billboards flashed Nicholas's face beside charity slogans. Inside the SUV, the atmosphere felt force bright. Palmer cued upbeat Afrobeats. Nicholas tapped the wheel in time. Maria scrolled her phone, pretending interest. 30 minutes in, Nicholas glanced back. Nicholas, you're awfully quiet. Maria, soft, just tired. Palmer, reaching over, then nap, sweetheart. Fresh air awaits. Maria stuffed the earbuds in, but left them silent. She watched the driver's mirror. He never met her gaze. The last turnoff. Past Aja, the scenery opened into wetlands. Palmer pointed ahead. Palmer, there's a scenic lookout. Let's stretch. The SUV turned off the highway onto a dusty laterite track flanked by bush. A lone palm bent in the wind. No other cars. Maria's pulse quickened. She touched her father's sleeve. Maria, low, Dad, this isn't a tourist stop. Nicholas, gentle, let me handle the worrying for once. The SUV stopped beside an abandoned filling station. Tin sheets rattled on the roof. The driver stepped out first. Palmer opened her door, fixing her son at. Palmer, light laugh, nature calls. Back in 5. She signaled Nicholas to follow. Maria climbed out last, gravel crunching under her sneakers. The air smelled of dust and salt marsh. Cicadas screamed. From behind a filling station, 3 vehicles rolled forward. 2 Jeeps and a dark sedan. Doors clicked open in choreographed unison. Jude Collins emerged in a linen suit, grinning. Alan Rivers stepped beside him, sleeves rolled, phone in hand. Felix Grant leaned against the sedan, sunglasses hiding predatory eyes. Nicholas's smile froze. Nicholas, Jude? Alan? What is this? Palmer, sweetly a reunion. Felix, removing glasses, or a farewell. Maria darted to her father's side. Maria, hissing, Dad, get back in the car. Jude, raising a pistol, too late for doors, little dove. One driver drew a shotgun, revealing his true allegiance. Nicholas raised both hands. Nicholas, steady voice, take my wallet, my watch, the vehicle, just let my daughter leave. Palmer, mock hurt, still the hero, even when the villains are friends. Alan stepped forward, medical bag in hand. Inside, pre-signed death certificates. Alan, we can make this painless, Nick. One shot, quick. Nicholas, you? My best man. Alan shrugged business. Nicholas turned to Palmer, disbelief warping his features. Nicholas, you said you loved us. Palmer, voice like ice, I loved what you owned. Maria grabbed a rusty fuel can, flung it. It clanged uselessly. Felix laughed. Felix, feisty. We'll start with him. He lifted a pistol. Maria lunged forward, but the crack of the gun split the morning. Nicholas staggered. A red bloom spread over his white shirt. Maria screamed, Dad. Nicholas, gasping, run. Maria, run. She caught him as he sank, eyes wide in shock. Tears blurred her sight. Jude aimed at her. Palmer, urgent, leave her. Search the car for the safe key first. Felix, no witnesses. Maria pressed a trembling kiss on her father's forehead, then bolted toward the bush. Gunfire erupted, splinters of earth at her heels. Flight through the forest. The forest swallowed Maria, dense shrubs, knotted roots. Thorns tore her sleeves. Branches whipped her face. But gunshots and shouts kept her running. Jude and Alan crashed after her, cursing. Alan, panting she knows too much. Jude, split left. Pin her to the river. Maria spotted brown water glinting through trees. The Omo River, swollen by recent rain. She broke onto a muddy bank. Rapids churned, logs spinning. Behind, Jude burst from the brush. Jude, raising gun, into the line, girl. Maria glanced once at the ruthless current, whispered, "Sorry, Dad," and leaped. Cold water swallowed her scream. Current yanked her under, tumbling her through branches and debris. A bullet smacked the surface above, but the river dragged her away. Jude stared, stunned. Alan, joining, breathless, "Did you hit her?" Jude, shaking head, "River did." They listened. Only roaring water answered. Cleaning the scene. Back at the filling station, Palmer knelt beside Nicholas's lifeless body, wiping blood from his lips with a silk scarf, soft as a lover's touch, cold as a mortician's. Felix finished dousing the SUV with petrol. "Felix, we torch this, dump him somewhere else, make it look carjacking." Palmer, "No. The authorities know this vehicle. We need sympathy, not more questions. We stage a highway attack instead. Spare tire spikes, smashed windows, wallets gone. Accidentally find the body, so police arrive first." Felix grinned, queen of optics. Alan and Jude returned empty-handed. Palmer, sharp, "The girl." Jude, "River took her." Alan, "No swimmer survives that current. Search team will call it soon." Palmer exhaled, eyes hard. They loaded Nicholas into the sedan, wiped prints, scattered Maria's backpack near tire tracks. Felix lit the SUV. Flame whooshed, black smoke curling into cloudless blue. Palmer, watching fire. May the world weep for St. Nicholas. The public story. Day 1. Breaking news. Drone footage flashed across Nigerian channels. Charred SUV on the Lagos Ape Road, shattered windshield, bullet casings. A tearful Palmer, arm in sling, spoke to journalists outside a rural clinic. Palmer, voice cracking, "Armed thieves blocked us. They shot Nicholas when he tried protecting us. Maria was dragged into the bush. I chased, but they fired at me." Headline screamed, "Billionaire hero slain. Daughter feared dead." Police Commissioner Adelik addressed cameras. "Commissioner, we're deploying a 20-man search along Omo River for Miss Grayson. No ransom demand yet." Social media flooded with candle emojis and clips of Nicholas handing keys to newly built orphan homes. Grayson Towers flags flew half-mast. Employees sobbed in the lobby. Day 3. State funeral. St. Dominic's Cathedral overflowed. White roses lined the aisle. The president sent an envoy. Palmer, veiled in black, clasped Jude's arm for support. Felix stayed 2 rows back, sunglasses hiding triumph. Maria's empty pew bore a single lily. Archbishop's eulogy. A father, a philanthropist, a light to our city, dimmed by senseless violence. Outside, microphones swarmed. Reporter, "Mrs. Grayson, any hope Maria yet lives?" Palmer, tear rolling, "I pray, but the river is unforgiving." Day 5. Presumption of death. Divers found a torn piece of Maria's blouse snagged on a fallen tree 10 kilometers downstream. No body recovered. Palmer's lawyer filed petition to declare Maria legally deceased for estate stability. The court scheduled an expedited hearing, citing extraordinary hardship. Board members, led by Alan, voted Palmer interim chair. Grayson shares spiked on sympathy wave. A mansion reborn. Rain drummed the mansion's window panes when Palmer unlocked the master bedroom. Felix followed, rolling 2 suitcases. Felix smirked from guest room to owner's suite. Efficient promotion. Palmer, twirling, worth every late-night lullaby. She pulled a bottle of Remy Martin, Louis XIII, from Nicholas's private cabinet. Spirits he'd been saving for Maria's 18th. Crystal glasses clinked. Felix, toasting to Nicholas, "May his charity feed us forever." Palmer, drinking deeply, and to Maria, the river's best secret. They laughed, the sound muffled by velvet drapes. Jude arrived, dropping a folder on the mahogany desk. "Jude, insurance wired to Cayman account." 80% liquefied already. Board welcomes the angel widow. Palmer will start a scholarship in Nicholas's name. Keep public eyes shining in the right direction. Allen on speakerphone, and quarterly profits will pacify shareholders. Grief is good for business when managed. Felix opened French doors onto the balcony. City lights shimmered below like treasure spilled across the night. Felix, arms wide, our kingdom. Palmer, nestling beside him, but keep the gates locked. Rivers sometimes return what they steal. Felix's smile wavered, but Palmer crushed his lips with hers until caution drowned. Hollow echoes. In Maria's bedroom, dust motes drifted through moonlight. Her sketchbook lay open on the desk, unfinished charcoal portrait of her father laughing. A breeze rustled the pages, as if someone had exhaled. Downstairs, champagne laughter rose again. Closing beat. The press called it a tragedy, the markets called it a hiccup, and Lagos moved on beneath neon and thunderclouds. Inside the Grayson mansion, conspirators feasted on stolen fortune, blind to the faint drip of river water that would one day echo in their dreams. For now, the world believed a legend lay in the grave and his daughter beneath dark currents. The stage was set, the shadows applauded. Dawn paints the sky pale orange when a lone wooden canoe drifts past the delta marshes. Inside, old fisherman Baba Tund casts his net, then freezes. A limp hand floats beside the reeds. Baba Tund, gasping, great heavens. He yanks Maria onto the deck, coughs water from her lungs, and wraps her in his threadbare coat. Maria, hoarse whisper, "Father, they killed him." Baba Tund rows to his still hut and tender for 2 days. News radio crackles in the corner. Maria Grayson presumed dead. She trembles but lives. When she can stand, he presses a bus ticket and all his savings into her palm. Baba Tund, find someone you trust. Show them you are alive. Maria, eyes blazing, thank you. I will. Shelter with Clarence Booth. In Lagos, Clarence Booth, Nicholas's oldest partner, locks his office door when Maria slips inside. Hood up. Clarence shocked Maria. The whole country buried you. Maria, flat, they buried my name, not me. She tells him everything. The ambush, the river, Palmer's lies. Clarence fists the desk. Clarence, we march to the police now. I'll fund the best lawyers. Maria, no courtroom can touch them. They own the story. I'll tear it from them. Clarence, revenge is fire. Maria, steely, then teach me to control the flames. He hesitates, then nods once. Disappearing act. Clarence arranges forged papers. Miriam Cole, orphan from Kaduna. Maria cuts her hair short, dyes it deep auburn, and erases the last trace of luxury. Maria, to her reflection, Maria Grayson is dead. Miriam lives for her. Clarence rents a hidden flat above an auto garage in Mushin. Every month, he wires untraceable funds through shell companies. Her war chest. Training in the shadows. Close quarters combat. At night, Miriam spars with ex-soldier Sergeant Nandi in a shuttered boxing gym. Gloves thud, ribs bruise. Nandi, pushing harder. Your enemy is bigger? Break his rhythm. Elbow, knee, finish. Miriam, panting again. Firearms. On a deserted farm outside Abadan, ex-police armorer Chief Daipo lines tin cans along a fence. Chief Daipo, breathe out when you squeeze. The pistol bucks, cans fly. Chief Daipo, grinning city girl learns fast. Survival and tracking. 3-day treks through Ogun Forest with hunter Mama Ebel. She teaches snares, silent movement, reading footprints. Hacking. In a dim cyber cafe, reclusive coder Kite, real name unknown, shows her digital locks. Kite. Money leaves fingerprints. Follow the prints, you pinch the hand. Miriam, I want the wrist. Then the heart. Nights end with bruises bathed, code memorized, and a pinboard of faces. Palmer, Jude, Allen, Felix, lit by a single bulb. Watching the wolves. Using stolen CCTV feeds and burner phones, Miriam tracks them. Palmer hosting charity galas in silk. Felix gambling in hidden casinos. Jude laundering funds through new hotels. Alan vacationing in Monaco, confident the past is buried. Each move, each weakness, logged in a black notebook labeled Fortune's Blood. Vow of vengeance. One humid midnight, Miriam meets Clarence on the rooftop of a half-built tower. Clarence, soft, you're ready. But promise me you'll return alive. Miriam, eyes like steel, I won't die until they feel what my father felt, until the world knows the truth. A distant thunder rolls over Lagos. She slips into the night, a ghost reborn, carrying grief sharpened into a blade. The reunion party. Champagne flutes chimed under crystal chandeliers as Lagos's elite filed into the Grayson mansion, now officially the home of Palmer Reed Grant. The invitations had read, an evening of new beginnings. They might as well have read victory lap. Palmer, draped in ivory satin that caught every flash of candlelight, turned in slow circles, greeting each arrival with the same wistful smile she had worn after Nicholas's funeral. Her left hand never drifted far from the huge diamond that Felix Grant had slipped on her finger 2 weeks earlier. Felix, flawless in a midnight tuxedo, floated beside her. He shook hands, told jokes, and presented himself as the protective fiancé who had helped a broken widow learn to love again. At 8:15, the last public guest departed. Only 4 conspirators remained around the mahogany dining table in Nicholas's old study. Palmer, Queen of the Empire. Felix, her lover and blade. Jude Collins, now bloated from soft living, nursing a 3rd glass of cognac. Alan Rivers, suntanned from Monaco, flicking invisible lint from his cuff. Outside, house staff had been sent home early to give the family privacy. Guards patrolled the gates, but guard could be paid to look away. Felix lifted his glass. Felix, grinning, to the 4 who turned ashes into gold. Jude, raising his, and to the girl who couldn't swim. Palmer, softly to new beginnings. They drank. Alan checked his watch. Midnight flight, he explained. A knock at the door. 9:30. An unexpected buzz echoed from the entry hall. Palmer frowned. No more deliveries were scheduled. Palmer, relax, it's probably the florist. She glided to the door, heels clicking on marble, and opened it. A courier in brown overalls stood beneath the porch lantern, holding a slim package. His cap was pulled low, his face half in shadow. Courier, pleasant, accented English, special evening delivery for Mrs. Reed Grant. Requires signature. Palmer took the stylus, still puzzled. The courier's hand brushed hers cold. She felt a sudden chill travel up her arm. Before she could speak, a woman's voice, low and controlled, sounded inches behind her. Voice, step inside and keep your hand where I can see them. Palmer spun, staring into the barrel of a matte black pistol tipped with a stubby suppressor. The pistol was held by a young woman with cropped auburn hair and eyes like tempered steel. Maria Grayson. Time froze. Palmer's mouth fell open. Her legs refused to move. Palmer, ragged whisper, impossible. You. Maria. Ghost walked through doors too. The courier slipped in, kicking the door shut. He drew his own weapon, identical, silent death. Palmer backed toward the study, pistol tracking her heart. Inside, the men looked up. Felix half rose. Maria, even sit. Hands on the table. Felix studied her, calculating angles. Maria fired a single round through the ceiling. Pop. Plaster snowed. Felix sat. The courier shut off the room's cameras with a remote jammer, then produced plastic zip ties. In seconds, Palmer, Felix, Jude, and Alan were trussed to heavy dining chairs, wrists behind, ankles wrapped to legs of carved mahogany. Gags were unnecessary. The silenced gun kept them obedient. Setting the stage. Maria paced before them, pistol loose but steady. The courier now, silent guard at the door. The study smelled of old money, cedar wood, aged liquor, books that no one opened anymore. Nicholas's portrait still hung above the mantel, eyes kind and solemn. Maria stopped beneath the painting, letting her father's image look down. Maria, 2 years ago you murdered Nicholas Grayson. You drowned his daughter, or thought you did. You took his house, his name, his charities, and toasted to new beginnings. Tonight the bill is due. Jude's cheeks jiggled as he tried to speak. Maria tilted her head. Maria, you'll get your chance, Jude. We're going to play a game. She dragged an antique side table into the center of the rug. On it she placed 4 white envelopes, each sealed with black wax, and a small glass bowl. From her coat, she removed 4 brass tokens, stamped 1 through 4, and dropped them into the bowl with a soft clink. Maria, inside every envelope is a single sheet of paper. On that paper, you will write the name of the one person among you who deserves to live. Only one. Write any other comment, and you lose your vote. You may not vote for yourself. All 4 stared eyes wide. Maria, cold smile. Then my colleague will collect the envelopes. Majority wins. 2-2 tie. I flip a coin. No majority because someone acted clever? For funerals. You have 10 minutes. Alan found his voice. Alan, hoarse Maria, think. Killing us. Maria, cutting in, is exactly justice. But letting you choose who suffers last, that is vengeance. She removed their wrist ties long enough for writing. Ankles stayed bound. The courier slid a pen to each. Panic, secrets, betrayal. Minute 1 to 2. The pens hovered. Felix's eyes flicked to Palmer, then to Maria. Jude sweated openly. Alan's lips moved, whisper counting possibilities. Felix, soft. To Palmer, vote Jude. He's weakest. We handle Maria together later. Palmer, eyes narrowing, you assume she'll spare the survivor. Maria, overhearing, amused, I spare no one who stands when this is done, but lies may by minutes. Up to you. Alan leaned toward Jude. Alan, urgent whisper, we vote Felix. He pulled the trigger. She wants him most. Jude, she wants all of us. Alan, majority Jude. 2 of us leave, maybe bargain. Maria rapped the pistol on the table. Maria, 8 minutes. Minute 3 to 5. Palmer's mind raced. Felix had always been the knife, dangerous if left last. Jude was sloppy but loyal to money. Alan? Too smart. He'd crawl out of any grave. She turned her chair slightly toward Jude, voice honey soft. Palmer, remember who secured the insurance transfer for you? Alan did. If someone talks under pressure, it's him. Jude nodded, terrified, pen scratching. Felix saw the exchange. His grin vanished. Felix, to Palmer, low growl, after everything, you choose him? Palmer, I choose survival. Felix snapped, lunging, chair legs screeched. Maria's gun muzzle kissed his temple. Maria, whisper, move again and you vote with your life now. Felix froze, chest heaving. Minute 6 to 8. Alan scribbled a name, sealed his envelope, eyes never leaving Maria. He cleared his throat. Alan, Maria, Nicholas was my friend. I can pay restitution, foundation in his name, everything. Maria, you paid for the bullet that killed him. Alan, quiet, I can pay more. Maria's silence was answer enough. Palmer sealed her vote, smoothing wax with shaking thumb. Felix stared at his blank sheet. Sweat dripped onto the page. His eyes darted to the courier by the door, face emotionless behind the cap. No help there. Felix, desperate to Maria, let me write a confession. I'll testify, turn over banking codes. Spare me, and you can crush the other 3 legally. Maria, I'm not here for courts. Felix swallowed, wrote a name with trembling hand, sealed. Minute 9 to 10. Pens down. Maria retied wrists. The courier scooped envelopes and tokens into a satchel. He shook the bowl. Brass clinked again, echoing like tiny funeral bells. The count. Maria knelt by the coffee table, opening each envelope slowly, letting tension thicken like tar. First envelope. Name, Alan. Second envelope. Name, Felix. Third envelope. Name, Felix. Fourth envelope. Name, Alan. A tie. Maria's brows rose. Maria, almost playful, 2 votes Felix, 2 votes Alan. Democracy fails again. Coin it is. She produced a brass coin, Nicholas's profile embossed. Palmer gasped. She had thought it lost in the river. Maria, father always said chance reveals truth. She flipped. The coin glittered, landed on the back of her hand. Silence stretched. She lifted her fingers. Maria, Felix it is. Felix sagged, eyes wet, chair rattling. Felix, pleading Palmer. Do something. Palmer, voice flat, I did. I voted. Maria drew a short dagger, hunter's steel. Felix shook in his bonds, tears mixing with fury. Maria, lean, you fired the shot that ended my father's heartbeat. Tonight, I return it. She slid the blade between his ribs, quick, precise. Felix gasped, coughed once, eyes glazing. His body slumped. Life leaked out. Jude retched. Alan's face drained white. Palmer bit her lip hard enough to draw blood, but kept silent. Round 2. Maria wiped the blade on Felix's pocket square, then dropped 3 fresh envelopes on the table. Maria, we continue. Same rule. 1 lives. 7 minutes this time. 3 sets of trembling hands wrote fast. Jude, sweating rivers, wrote Palmer. Palmer, jaw clenched, wrote Jude. Alan, voice shaking as he sealed, whispered, forgive me, and wrote Palmer. Votes. Palmer. Palmer. Jude. Majority, Palmer lives. She exhaled shakily, horror and relief battling. Maria walked behind Jude's chair. Jude, wailing no, please. I have grandchildren. Palmer promised. Palmer, cold promises change. Maria fired once. PHFFD. Jude slumped, heart pierced. Final vote. Only Palmer and Alan remained, sweat beading on foreheads. Maria placed 2 envelopes. Maria, 1 lives. 5 minutes. Palmer's pen hovered. Alan met her gaze. Alan, whisper, we don't have to obey her. We refuse to vote. Force the tie. She kills us both or lets us go. She can't kill Nicholas twice. Palmer, you think she came without a finish. Palmer wrote Alan. Alan wrote Palmer. Tie again, but Maria pocketed the coin. Maria, no coin this round. Father taught me a better tiebreaker. She produced the bowl of number tokens. 2 remained, 1 and 2. She shook them, offered it to Palmer. Maria, pick. Palmer drew 2. Alan drew 1. Maria, higher number wins life. Palmer's shoulders slumped in shuddering relief. Alan began to protest. Maria's pistol ended the sound. Alan's chair toppled backward, eyes still open in disbelief. The angel's fate. Palmer sat alone before Maria, surrounded by corpses, mascara streaks carving her face. Palmer, voice breaking, it's over. You got your vengeance. Maria, not yet. She untied Palmer's wrists and ankles, then tossed her Nicholas's coin. Maria, you keep pretending to be a healer. Here's an honest chance. Live or die by your own choice. Palmer's fingers closed around the coin as if it were life itself. Palmer, what are you saying? Maria, you walk free tonight, if you walk out that front door with the truth. She nodded toward a laptop that the courier set on the table. A livestream window glowed, waiting. Viewers would be the board, global media, and the police tip line, already primed by Clarence. Maria, confess everything on record. Name your partners, the bank trails, the murder. Sign it with your blood. She stabbed the dagger into the desk near Palmer's hand. Maria, do that, and you live in a cell until age takes you. Refuse, and you join them. Palmer looked at the bodies, at the gun, at Nicholas's portrait. Teardrops struck the coin. She trembled, moved to the keyboard, and began speaking, voice shaking, words spilling horror into the world that once adored her. Maria watched. At last the truth was no longer buried under luxury. When the confession ended, Palmer pricked her thumb on the dagger tip and smeared a red signature across the screen. Maria nodded to the courier. Transmission uploaded, copies dispatched. Sirens wailed in the far distance. Clarence's timed call. Maria holstered the pistol. Maria, quiet, justice starts now. Vengeance ends here. She turned, walked past Nicholas's portrait, and vanished into the night before the first blue lights splashed across the mansion gates. Palmer collapsed, coin clutched in her bloody fingers, as doors crashed open and the hunter's kingdom finally crumbled. Morning sunlight pours through the glass walls of Grayson Tower as Maria steps out of the elevator. Security guards bow their heads. The whole city knows the truth now. At the reception desk, whispers trail her. Clerk, awed, good morning, Ms. Grayson. Maria, gentle morning. Call me Maria. She moves straight to the main conference room, where Clarence Booth waits with the board. Signed police reports and Palmer's video confession lie in a tidy stack. Clarence, warm smile, unanimous vote, Maria. The company is yours. Maria, thank you. But first, we repair what greed destroyed. Giving back. That afternoon, she meets a circle of crime survivor families in a modest community hall. She places a banker's draft on the table, half the Grayson estate. Maria, this money is not charity. It's a bridge, so you can start again like I did. Tears and applause fill the room. A journalist tries to corner her outside. Journalist, why give away billions? Maria, quiet, because fortune stained with blood never stays clean. A new dawn at Grayson Holdings. Evening. The boardroom is empty except for Clarence and Maria. She stands before her father's oil portrait, his kind eyes, his soft smile. Maria, softly, we're rebuilding, Dad. Ethical supply chains, transparent books, scholarships in Mom's name. Clarence, nodding, your father would be proud. He leaves her alone with the fading sunset. Maria touches the frame, emotion finally cracking the armor she has worn for 2 years. One lone tear slides down her cheek and drops onto the polished desk where Nicholas once signed dreams into reality. Voiceover, Maria, firm and calm. They took everything from me. I gave them what they deserved. And now, I rebuild in my father's name.